Hello YouTube audience. Today is early April and I'm going to work on this coralberry. So here is the information tag. Coralberry, Hancock, deciduous shrub, and here is a picture of the berry and the leaves. And as I normally do, I record the information, the tag it comes from. It's a coralberry, Symphorecarpus XC Hancock. It's a low-growing deciduous shrub with arching stems and small oval blue-green leaves, pink belt-shaped flower are followed by white and rose pink berries that last from fall to winter. Great for mass planting, ground cover, or for naturalized areas. Plant in moist, well-drained soil. Okay, so it should be planted in full sun to shade, water regularly. 2 to 8 feet tall. Bloom time is summer and hardy zone 3 to zone 8, so it's good for our climate. And you can see how messy this plant is, and basically nobody took care of it in the nursery, so nobody wants it. And this is the tag it came with. It's originally 40% off, and nobody wants it, so they further lower the price to 50% off. I end up getting it with about $17 with tax. So when I go into a nursery, it's like doing a treasure hunt, because the materials that are good for bonsai are not necessarily materials that common people would like. It's could be full of defects and full of messiness, but with a good eye and understanding of the art, we can pick up some very good material with very relatively low price. And here, this tree in bonsai term is a natural clump style tree with a crazy base. If you look at this base, it's pretty impressive and pretty powerful. And on that base, you got 6 to 7 trunk come out of it, so it's a natural clump style. And all this messiness, it's not big deal, because in the summer, when the plant is in energy positive, I'm going to prune them back to a basic structure. So all these messiness will be gone and reborn again. So today I'm mainly going to repot it. You can see the leaves has come out, so it's a little bit late for repotting, but it's not too much leaves yet. So I think it's okay to repot at this time still. So first I'm going to tidy up this messiness a little bit. I'm not going to do a structural pruning, but I'm going to prune back all those long shoots, so it's not taking up too much space. So I'm not even going to look at structure and anything. I'm just going to prune back anything that's long, because all these twigs, it's going to be gone in the future. So anything that's long, I'm going to prune back so that I can save some space. But I'm going to still leave significant amount for a branch for the plant to regenerate the roots, because the leaves produce the energy and hormones to instruct root growth, and having leaves are the reason that roots will grow. So after repot, I'm going to leave a significant number of leaves for it to regenerate roots. So I'm just going to prune it back a little bit, tidy up a little bit so that it doesn't take up too much space, because I have a balcony, a tiny balcony. I have limited space on the balcony, so I cannot let it spread too wide, or it will not fit into the space I have for the plant. So simply a simple prune back followed by repotting. So there is this opinion that when you repot, you would have to reduce the top of the plant a lot when you do a lot of root pruning. I think it's not necessarily the case. Depends on whether you repot in the right time. So in this time, when the bud, in the early spring, when the buds just start to swell, the leaves start to come out, you have an excess, naturally you have an excess of root. You have more roots than you have leaves. So at this time, you don't really have to do a lot of leaf reduction when you prune the roots, because you naturally have more roots than you have leaves. I think if you repot even later, when it's in full leaves, and you reduce the roots a lot, you may need to do some top pruning too, but it's not necessary at this time, because it's still not coming into full leaves, and the roots is still enough to support the plant when it's in peak of its leaf growth. So at this time, we can reduce the root without reducing the top. Okay, so I've do a rough prune back, just prune it to a rounded canopy, nothing special, just for reducing the space it's taken. And next, I'm going to turn on the time lapse and document the repotting process by doing that. Okay, I finished repotting this coralberry, and so let's talk about what I did. So as a plant that's neglected in the nursery and no one want to buy it, probably for a while, that's why it's 50% off. This plant is, as expected, entirely root bound, meaning the roots has filled the pot and circling around and around, and the pot is almost entirely packed with roots. So the first thing I did was I used a saw, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen where I'm pointing at. I used a saw to saw off the bottom half of the root base. So before doing that, I first assess the top half of the roots and make sure there are a lot of feeder roots on the top half to sustain the tree. And after I make sure that's the case, I saw off the bottom half of the roots, which I think will be completely fine. Since we still see a lot of fine root in the top half, that should be enough to sustain the tree. And I repotted, I teased out, as you may seen in the time-lapse video, the most of the time is spent teasing out the old soil. The old soil is probably mostly peat moss, small amount of bark, and importantly, they have some organic, maybe pumice in it. So it's very, very important. This plant has stayed in the pot for so long, yet the feeder root isn't dead. They are still plenty of feeder root. Is probably due to the presence of pumice, which ensure the drainage of the plant. Pure organic soil like moss, peat moss, and bark, it's perfect for the plant growth at the beginning, but after several years, after the organic decompose, it start to lose ability to drain and also lose the ability to allow air to penetrate the soil. So the feeder roots gradually die off. If there's no inorganic component, either be even sand, pumice, even gravels, perlite and things like that in the soil, the soil is just not sustainable. But this plant, because there are plenty of pumice in the soil mix, the feeder root is still pretty good. That enable me to saw off the bottom half of the root. And I think it would still be pretty good. And in teasing out the roots, I find the best root base, which you are looking at right now. So if we just take a closer look, you can see how wide the root base is. So if I just show you, so here is the end of the root base on the left hand side, and here is the end of the root base on the right hand side. So if I just roughly, it's how many inches it is. It's probably maybe 5 inches wide, the root base. So it's almost like a pyramid root base. Really, really good root base. It's probably the best I've ever seen in my nursery stocks. So this is definitely a treasure hunt, succeeded. And you can see, although right now it looks like a tree, but later in the year I'm going to do a severe cutback. So although you may think this is good enough as a bonsai, but the main value of this plant is on the root base. So the top are basically in this summer, when the leaves completely flush out, harden off, and have time to recover for a spring season. After the spring season, I'm going to do a severe cutback on the top, basically cut it back to almost nothing. That would be a drastic video, but so this is the front I chose. So the widest root base is actually here. It's actually a little bit wider, but you got two branches that directly coming to you and blocking the other trunk. So I just tilt it slightly. So now you got still a pretty wide root base, but the 7 trunks, although it may seems to be 6, but actually 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there is tiny one on the back. So the 7 trunks kind of you can see all 7 of them. And later this summer, later this year, I'm going to do a severe cutback. Probably cut it to very low, like maybe the whole tree is just like this, almost like a shohin size tree. But I'm not trying to do a shohin. It's just there are some obvious shortcoming of this tree despite the impressive base. So one of them is all these trunks is like parallel to each other, and you have a lack of movement on the trunk. So I'm going to cut it back severely to create those movements. And so these 2 trunks on the front, it probably need to be significantly reduced so that it's not so prominent, poking at the audience face. And these 2 probably will be the main trunk, and then this 2 would be almost like a background trunk, and also this tiny one too. So this is the repotting of this coralberry. So it's probably going to end up becoming a magnificent specimen. It is the start of this coralberry bonsai, and I'm pretty happy with the repotting, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.